Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another one. God, I hate that guy. What's that dumb guy's name?
I don't know.
DJ Khaled. That's his name.
Okay.
Anyways, one.
You didn't even get the name of the podcast.
Right. Oh, hold on. How do I intro this thing? That's right.
All up.
That's right. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Blind. This is Nadir.
This is Yadira.
And that's Yadira. And what's going on, Yadira?
I don't know. You made a whole disaster of the intro over there.
Another one. I don't really hate that guy. I just don't like what he makes. It's like he just takes old songs and it's like, look, it's new.
When it's not.
It's not new. Why did you take Carlos Santana's song and destroy it?
Did he?
And yeah.
That's the one who did that?
Yeah, the Maria song.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And he gave it to Rihanna. Rihanna can't sing live. Anyway. I kind of left you speechless.
I don't really like the music too much to begin with, so.
No, it's not good. It's not good at all.
Anyway.
So let's talk about current events.
No.
Real quick. No, we're not talking about current events. I don't care what you want to do. Why are you so controlling, wife? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your controlling tendencies.
You decided to marry it.
No, seriously. All right. So we're literally recording this like last minute.
Yep.
Because I got my parents in town and there's a wedding happening here and there's a lot going on. So let's hope it, we could stay on topic here.
Yeah. Anyway, what is our topic?
You got any comments on the earthquakes?
I don't know. It's very sad. Maybe I'll help these people and make it easy for them. It is very sad. A lot of people died. So
yes. How many people last time you checked?
I think it was like over 33,000 or something like that.
Allahu Akbar.
It could be more.
Wow.
At this point. It's very sad because it's just in a matter of seconds, life was changed,
Yeah, man.
Crazy. So may Allah make this easy for them and grant them the sustenance they need.
Ameen. All right, let's do this. What is the topic for today? We're okay, so we ran through all the kids, right? We talked about all the children's that we have. Yes, the multiple children's that we have.
Stop putting an S on it.
Yeah, that's supposed to be
crazy.
No? Children's?
Just children.
Child's?
Okay. We're moving on because you're just doing it to irk me.
Yes. Okay. So we talked about our children, and now we just kind of want to talk about the life experiences of raising blind kids.
Well, we don't have blind kids.
Of raising sighted children as blind parents.
I have to reiterate this. None of my children are visually impaired.
Wait, hold on. Take two. Even though I'm not getting rid of any of this, you guys have to deal with all of my
You're
machinations? Is that a word?
Yeah,
Dita?
you can say machinations.
Machinations. Machinations is a word.
I've heard people say it. I just don't like the way it sounds.
Is it a word? Is that proper pronunciation?
I don't know. I've heard people say it both ways, and I don't like machinations. I just like machinations. And
so,
the CH, I don't know. It's weird.
Yes.
I don't like it.
As you can hear the grammar wizard do her work there.
I don't know if it's incorrect or not correct. I just don't like the way it sounds.
Okay. Why are you so racist against the word machinations? That's my question.
We're moving
machinations,
on.
Excuse me. Hold on.
I'm going to get up and leave, and you're going to podcast by yourself.
Listen, don't make me go on mute again. All right? I'll do it.
Okay. So I think for us, it's what
as
it is
blind
as blind
parents with sighted children. Pretty much what it is to raise them and all the misconceptions. Really, this is going to be about like the misconceptions, right?
More of the misconceptions because reality versus what people perceive is very different.
Mm-hmm.
What it is on a daily basis for us is not what people think it is.
It's not.
Not in general. You know what I mean? People have a really misconstrued view of what it would be like to be a blind parent or to be blind in general. But we're going to be focusing on blind parenting right now. So I think just clarifying that. I'm also very sleepy and I just yawned.
Look, you just yawned all up in the mic.
I barely yawned. Oh my God, you're so irritating.
Oh my God, man. This is what makes that's what makes these podcasts entertaining.
You can't even
me irritating you and you rebuking me. This is all entertaining.
This is my life.
Exactly.
Welcome to it.
Oh, you
All
love
right.
your life.
So
Good.
getting into it, where should we start? Okay, so again, clarifying, we have no children that are visually impaired. All four of our children,
we're blind.
We're
Our
blind.
kids are
The
not.
Kids are not, and that is one of the questions. One of the first things people ask us, and it's kind of crazy. I should stop playing with that pen.
Yeah, bro, come on. It's getting all the background noise.
So
I'll race you.
I don't have a clicky pen. So I don't have a clicky pen. That's not fair. You automatically win the race. Anyway,
I got my
your
Simpsons reference
thing
in. Let's go.
So
Yeah.
people automatically ask us, that's one of the first things they ask us, oh, are any of your children blind? Except that they never complete the question. So you get a roundabout. It's always, so are any of your children, do they have any, can any of your kids, and you're like, can they see? Yes, they all can see. None of them are blind. Like it's, that question is never outright asked. People get really awkward about it.
So what about your
kids? Do they,
your kids, can they,
so here's
that's another thing. Like, why are people so afraid of saying the word blind?
I don't know, but they really are.
Like, they are so afraid of that word.
Here's my thing with that question, though. If it already makes you uncomfortable to ask it, then you probably shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're wondering whether my kids are visually impaired or not, and you don't know how to approach that, if it makes you uncomfortable, then you probably shouldn't ask it, because quite frankly, it's irrelevant. And you know what I mean? Like, whether they are or aren't, how is that going to change? You know what I mean? Anything.
Yeah.
So why are you asking the question? Is, I think, one of the things people should be asking themselves. Why am I trying to ask this question?
The thing is, people ask us questions about being blind and being parents that they would not accept being asked themselves. Right?
Well, think about it. Just that question alone. Would anybody be comfortable, like, well, is your kid disabled? And there's nothing wrong with being disabled, but
no, but
it's a very forward question. It's
automatically assuming or just saying that, hey, your kids, they must be disabled, right?
Just because you are.
Yeah.
So it's the presumption there that, again, the question.
Or, for you able-bodied people, depending on your on the way you are, you're like, hey, your kids, are they jerks too? Like,
If you see someone who's heavy or thin, you wouldn't ask,
are
your
like,
kids
hey,
heavy?
Your kids fat?
Are your
that's
kids
not
skinny?
nice.
Like, you wouldn't ask that. You know what I mean? So to assume,
your kids, are they,
you know what I mean?
weight challenged?
Right, or something. Like, it's just rude, honestly. It is rude. It doesn't matter whether my kids and then, of course, the follow-up statement when they find out that my kids aren't disabled is, oh, thank God, at least they can help you out. That's good. That's good. And it's kind of just like, I'm sorry, what? And
the automatic assumption
also
is
the sheer relief in their voice is insane. It's like,
oh my
thank
God.
God, thank God, because of, like,
you can't have that many blind people in one house at one time. Like, it's going to be a disaster.
It's going to, bring about the ends of the world and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, again, we're open to questions, but I think a lot of times when people say, ask us anything, you have to really think about how and what you're asking and what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. If you wouldn't like it asked, then maybe you shouldn't ask it. You know what I mean? If you wouldn't like certain responses, then maybe you should think about the response you're going to give. And breathing a sigh of relief when you're asking a blind mom or dad if their kids are blind and they respond to you with no, and breathing a sigh of relief and then saying, oh, at least, they can help you, is really, really wrong. Like, it's really rude. Because now you're implying, thank God they don't have your disability. And furthermore, thank God you have somebody to take care of you, because Lord knows you can't. You know what I mean? It's just not in any way, shape, or form ever okay. Just to be honest and blunt, that's not okay. And that is one of the things we have to deal with as blind parents from the outside community. Now, as for the kids, I mean, for them, it's normal. There's never been a lesson for the kids. I'm like, okay, today we're going to learn that about blind parents, because you have those. And this is how we function around them and what we do. That's never, ever done. There is no, because I've been asked that. Well, how did you teach your kids to talk to you or interact with you? I don't. It just happens the same way that every other parent does it. Every other able-bodied parent does. It's a very organic relationship. There isn't this, they learn very quickly when I say, let me see, and I put my hand out, they learn very quickly and really young to put things in my hands. Like, it's when it's your normal day-to-day interaction, there is no thinking about it. It just occurs. My kids have never felt bad as they've gotten older about having to Uber and Lyft rather than take a car everywhere. That's just never been an issue.
Our kids aren't like, oh God, you guys are blind?
Yeah, no.
No.
Our kids are not ashamed.
And this is the thing, right? Like our kids, that whole notion you were saying about, like, oh, thank God they help you. Imagine whenever somebody, saw your kids and they look at them and you look and they look at your kids and they say, make sure you take care of your parents.
Right.
How would you feel about that?
It's not appropriate.
Seriously.
It's like if you think you're being flattering, you're not.
You're not. It's not cool.
It's not appropriate. It's not okay. It's never okay to speak like that. It's never okay to asking questions is different, but asking questions with presumptions because you think you already know something, that's not okay. And those are very presumptuous questions and statements. You can't just assume, well, thank God they help you, or thank God they're not blind, or you know what I mean? Like it's kind of just not your place to make those assumptions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it devalues the person you're speaking to.
I know what you mean. You don't have to keep asking.
Yes, I know what you are saying. You don't have to keep asking. Okay. So when they're little versus when they're older, it's so funny because people never think beyond babyhood or toddlerhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always like, well, how are you going to do when they start walking or when they start crawling or and honestly, it's not as difficult as you would think. You kind of just hone into your senses. And I have never met a parent in my entire life that knows what their child is doing 24/7. At any stage of their life, of their kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met one because they don't exist. There's no way you can know what your child is doing 24/7. There just isn't. And for any parent who's like, oh, I do. No, you don't. I promise you don't. Especially as they get older. No, you don't.
I know everything my kid is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't. You're delusional, bro.
Right, you don't. You don't know that. So it's in the same way that you've honed your senses.
Unless you were like a super helicopter parent and your kids can't wait to get away from you.
Right, but even then
they'll figure out a way.
They'll figure out a way around that. It's just a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's just the way we are. Humans are. You can't have somebody smother you. But you hone in your senses the same way. You know when your kid gets hurt.
And then you get the chair.
You know when you
That's not what I meant. It is, Marge, admit it.
Anyway, so the way you hone your senses.
Listen, I'm so freaking tired, bro.
I know, you're a little delirious over there.
I am running on fumes right now. So I'm kind of like
a little delirious over there.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, you're gonna end up honing your senses in. When your kid gets hurt and your kid cries, they could be in a crowd. You're gonna know your kids cry. It's the same thing with blind parents.
Yep.
A lot of parenting, even when you breastfeed and things like that, a lot of it is so instinctual, and a lot of it doesn't really rely necessarily on sight. And people who are sighted tend to heavily rely and don't really think they can rely on anything else other than that. When you can't rely on it, you just instinctually compensate for it, so it doesn't interfere. There are blind parents who put bells on their kids' shoes or have them wear squeaky shoes or something like that.
But in reality, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's embarrassing.
Well, when they're little. When
they're little, nobody cares.
But this is my point. Kids are not going to know any better at that age. And that's when they start doing it. They start putting it like when they're toddlers and like learning how to walk and stuff. Mm-hmm. I never did it because we built a constant communication thing with our kids. So for us, everything is verbal. My kids probably didn't learn how to nod and shake and nod their heads yes and no till a little bit later, mm-hmm. because there's no way I was going to be okay with teaching you that skill. And if I ask you a question and you don't verbalize your answer and you're shaking, you're nodding your head at me, mm-hmm. we're going to have some issues because now I don't know what you're saying. So for us, rather than relying on like bells or squeaks or anything like that, we taught our kids really young to vocalize and verbalize their needs and to respond verbally whenever they were called. And we've taught them that really young. And my kids were all early speakers. They all spoke early and they all spoke a lot. Alhamdulillah. So I remember one time being asked and being told, have you taught your kids how to sign? I'm like, no, why would I you should do that. It's really beneficial. And I'm like, I need you to close your eyes for 1 second. And they're like, why? I'm like, just close your eyes. And then I started like moving my hands and I'm like, what did I just do? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you want my kids to sign and I can't see them. It's not like I'm deaf blind.
Did they get that?
They were like, oh yeah, that would make sense.
I'm like, oh my God, bro, why?
Here's the thing. If you're deaf blind, then you do have to learn how to sign. But I've done it with kids when we worked at that camp. One of the kids was deaf blind.
Yeah.
And they sign in your hand and you respond, letting them feel your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
they have to feel
specific case.
Yes, and they have to feel they still have to feel what you're doing.
Bro, this idea as well that because you're blind, you're innately born with all of these skills.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Like, I want to get everybody a Braille Quran in Arabic Braille.
Yeah, no.
I don't know how to read Arabic Braille.
First of all, I wasn't born knowing how to read Braille either. I learned alongside my peers while they were learning print in preschool. I was learning Braille. So this isn't some superpower. It's just learned skills. You know what I mean?
I really don't get how it's not differentiated. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of it is not knowing, but like when it transfers over to really thinking that our abilities are so limited, particularly when it comes to parenting, like they freak out. Like, oh, I wouldn't let someone who's blind hold my baby. I wouldn't let someone who's blind babysit my kids. Well, here's the thing. Excuse me. I wouldn't let a stranger hold my child. I wouldn't let someone random babysit my kids. You the vetting process that you're going to have to undergo. First of all, no, people don't watch my kids unless I absolutely, trust you and know you. And 9 times out of 10 is family. And usually my kids haven't been babysat a lot by other people because I just don't do it. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's not because and that's regardless of disability. I don't care if you can see. I can't trust you with my kids. Your disability doesn't play a role. Now, I can understand because there are people who haven't been taught the skills who are blind. There are people who haven't been given appropriate support, so they haven't reached their full potential. But if you see somebody who already, has children or who already is living a full life and if, especially if they're offering a service like babysitting or something like that, you're going to have to treat them the same way you would treat any other person and vet them the same way you would vet any other person.
Absolutely.
Who's able-bodied.
But the fact that you're blind automatically disqualifies you.
Not to say that I'm interested in babysitting children.
No.
I'm not one of those. I have baby fever women. I do not. Kids are great. They're wonderful. But
you had yours.
I had my 4 and I am very content with that.
We did our job.
Yes. So as they're getting older, a lot of communication, a lot of interaction, and my kids know, like, when they're called, they respond, and this is something they all do. So that was never like, once they learn that skill, that's not a real big issue. I don't know, like, people have asked me, well, what did you do in order to, like, when they were babies, like for feeding and things like that? Honestly, I didn't think about it because it was just natural. Like, when it was time to spoon feed the babies, I waited till they were a little bit older and let them decide when they were going to eat. And then when I would feed them, a lot of times they would want to do it themselves, and I was fine with that. Or if I was feeding them, I would just put my hand by their face, like by their mouth.
You find their mouth and you feed them.
And I feed them. And eventually the babies pick up on it. So when you put your hand towards their face, they look and open their mouths and wait for that spoon. Like, this is, it's not a complicated.
Bro, it all can be accommodated. You know what I mean?
And it was so instinctual. Like, where's your mouth? Here it is. Here's the spoon. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't this special thing that I used or special tools or, you know what I mean? There wasn't really anything different. It's hard for me to pinpoint what was different because it was just such a natural progression. It's just the way that I do things. And that might not be the case for other blind parents. And I suppose that's why they ask. And those questions are okay. Like, what did you do? Those are perfectly acceptable questions. But for me personally, I don't know how to pinpoint. I never blocked off sections. Like, people will put barricades, chairs or something in the way so that the baby doesn't crawl away further than a set space.
Who does that?
I've heard that, and I've seen it in like advice for like blind parenting articles and things like that. And I've never done any of that. I just let my kids kind of free roam.
It's their house.
And
I mean, it's different if you're in a different location and you don't know that location.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's at home. And my kids were so, like, any mom will tell you that your kids will follow you wherever you go. Mm-hmm. So if I was in the kitchen, my kids would crawl their way on over there. If I was in doing laundry, they were, you know what I mean? Like, they would follow me wherever I went. And they were never quiet kids.
They were not quiet children.
So
You see how Yadira usually takes over these conversations? That's my children. That's my children.
Go away. Go away.
Fine.
Did you just mute yourself?
Goodbye.
He's so ridiculous. I'm going to just keep talking. You're just going to stay over there. Also, give me some water.
Get your own water.
No, you already stood up. We're professional. Oh, yeah. Thank you, honey. I know. You're so tired. But again,
this is going to be a shorter episode of Behind the Blind, guys.
He's so tired.
I'm so
But anyway, so I don't think there was anything different, honestly, that I think I could pinpoint. Like, I was trying to think maybe I could say what I did, but honestly, it was just so organic. And most of the stuff that I've dealt with was people and their misconceptions and this idea that I wouldn't be able to do things unless I went out of my way to, like, set up parenting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't. Changing diapers. I mean, if you, like, how are you going to know when your baby's wet? Well, you could feel it.
Exactly.
And if they poop, I mean, if you can't smell that, maybe you have other issues that you might want to talk to a doctor about, right? Like, there might be some serious concerns here. So
you got to get your smell glands
right. You need
checked.
a whole checkup there.
Is that a thing?
Your olfactory.
Smell glands. Is that real?
Yeah, your olfactory.
What?
Olfactory.
Factory.
Olfactory.
Okay.
Anyway.
Olfactory. Is that AL? UL.
I can't remember. I'm not looking at a science book right now. Okay, I'm pretty good at science and things like that. But anyway.
Okay, so a couple questions, right? What was, other than the person saying you should teach your kids sign, what was one of the most ridiculous things someone told you about
parenting?
Yeah, like either about the kids or something like that. You know what I mean?
I don't know. The signing thing was pretty ridiculous. Thank God your kids can see.
I get that so much.
They
can help you.
Once
then.
I was
they must be such a big help.
Once I was sitting with my grandmother in the kitchen, and it goes to show you that even families can really miss the mark sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in the kitchen with my grandmother having coffee, and my kids were in a separate room playing with their cousins. My youngest at the time, and I can't remember which one that was. Okay, this is years ago, but whatever it was, my youngest at the time, I guess, got into a roll of tape and unraveled it and was messing around with the tape.
Mm-hmm.
And so my aunt comes home and she gets all upset because she's like, who let the kids play with the tape and stuff like that? And then her daughter was like, it was whatever kid of mine. Okay. And she's like, why didn't she stop him or whatever? And then her daughter tells her, well, she can't see. And my aunt's like, oh yeah. And so she tells me this story expecting me to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, here's the thing about that. And I didn't laugh. And I'm like, here's the thing about that. I wasn't even in the room. How disability does not equate into this. I was literally in the kitchen and the kids were in a separate room.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth would I have been able to stop my child from unraveling your tape if I wasn't even in the room? No, none of the kids who were in the room and who were older came to tell me, hey, the baby is doing this, or even tried to take it away from the child. Explain to me how this is funny, because I'm missing the joke. And if you want the tape replaced, how much was it? And then things stopped being funny. You know what I mean?
Dita's quick to make things like that.
It wasn't funny. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. And she was like, I just like face palmed. I'm like, it wasn't funny. Mm-hmm. It wasn't funny when it happened, and it's not funny you retelling it. I wasn't in the room. Explain to me, how was I magically going to know what my child was up to?
Just like anybody. How's anybody?
But here's the big problem. When you're blind, if your kid does anything, or
it's because you're blind.
It's because you're.
If they get hurt.
If they get
because
hurt,
you're blind.
if they get into mischief, it's, oh, you missed that because you're blind. It's not because I wasn't in the room like any other parent. It's because for some reason you have to squeeze in and equate my disability. And it goes to show you that this is not just strangers. This happens in families as well. They miss the mark.
Yep.
Again, never
families, friends.
They miss the mark, and that's never okay. Because again, in that particular scenario, there's no way that I would have known what was happening unless someone came to tell me what was happening. Had I been in the room and I would have heard the tape unraveling, actually, I would have been able to take it away from the baby. But I was not in the room. I was not in the room. So there was just no way for me to know that. If the child would have been someone's, the parent would have been cited, no one would have thought to say that it was because X, Y, or Z. They would have just said, oh yeah, the baby did that, and kept it moving. You know what I mean? So things like that, they missed the mark. And again, it goes back to, and I know I'm coming off kind of harsh in this episode, but
you be harsh.
You really need to think about what you say before you do it. The scapegoat of the blind card is, or the disabled card, like you're going to blame everything on the disability. That's not okay. Did your thing turn off?
What?
I don't know. It got really quiet all of a sudden.
What?
Like your fan thing that was going on over there, it just got real quiet.
There is no fan thing.
I don't know. It was a noise in the background. Anyway.
I think that was the refrigerator.
Oh, maybe.
The refrigerator just,
So that was one of those scenarios where...
having conversations.
Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah,
things like that?
Just the assumption of, oh, well, he's blind.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like that. I get that a lot. That whole, oh, take care of your dad.
Yeah.
Oh, I do this with the workshops where I do a role play where I have somebody acting to be blind and somebody younger being their son or nephew or whatever. And I talk to the child the whole time about what the blind guy needs. I can't stand that.
You're literally, when people do that.
Because that happens to me too.
Right.
You're literally saying this child has authority over me.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
And on top of that, you're parentifying a child. You're putting so much responsibility on a child.
That's a new word I never heard. Parentifying. Is that a real word?
Yes. You're parentifying a child. You are literally making this child a parent and giving them a responsibility.
Before my life.
Are we going to dwell on this? Just move on.
Yeah, no, I don't. Listen, I think you just make up words and use them knowing that I don't know what they are.
You know something? We are done with hearing about what you think, okay?
I'm serious. Yo, hold on. Wait, what? You can't cut my thoughts
Wait a
off.
minute. That was like 87 years late. Slow.
Slow. They call me slow. I will not take that.
Yeah. So,
wow, homie, you still here? Wow, you really are slow.
so
Man, I'm getting all the references in
sure
today.
are.
Let me tell you.
But
I really don't think that's a real word.
it is.
Okay.
And so what
I'm gonna look that up.
you do that. What you end up doing is giving responsibility to a child that has no business having that, and that the weight of that. That's there's so many issues with that, like way too many. So that's one issue that I've dealt with. As they get older, you get a lot more of like take care of your mom kind of thing, especially with Abdullah, because he's getting older, which is really annoying. But people don't they're assuming that your kids are doing more work and things like that. And they are older, so they don't need you in the same way. But again, there isn't like this magic thing that I had to do to learning through experience and trial and error, just like every other parent. There no child comes with a manual. So you don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand this. There's this pressure to be the perfect parent. Stop looking up the word.
I'm going to find this.
That's why you're super silent. You need to engage on the podcast.
You're talking. You're good. You got it. Hold on. What, bro? Listen, we got to be a reliable podcast with reliable information.
Oh my God. You're just trying to prove me wrong.
Define parentifying. Let's see if that's a real thing. Let's see if Miss Yadira is just making up words to mess with me.
You're literally wasting.
There's a word called parentification.
Yeah.
That's not the same as parentifying.
It is.
No, it's not. Stop.
You're just parentification. Like parentifying is like the action.
No,
of it.
I see it. I see it.
I know.
Parentify. I see it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You were right.
Okay. Can we move on now?
Yes.
Are we?
We may move on.
Okay. So again, there's not like this magical thing, but that we do.
No, it's
to
just
become good
listen,
parents.
all we try to do is we try to do the best we can with what we got.
Right.
We are learning on the job just like every other parent is learning on the job.
Exactly.
That's all we're doing.
And the thing is, but when you're blind, there is this extra pressure to be the perfect parent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're anything less than that, it's because you're blind.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, there is no perfect
This is why we were
parent.
on like super lockdown during COVID.
Right.
Because, you know, we shared the story of when Abdullah was born and all those social workers.
Right.
And that's
traumatizing.
that experience ruined us.
It traumatized
when it comes
both of
to
us. So
anything to do with public servants, I guess.
like
right?
the public
service or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So one reason why we homeschool is because of that. One reason whenever COVID was really popping big, you know, we made sure we got all of our vaccines. I don't care if you get your vaccines or not.
That's your business. But for us,
for example,
we have
you don't have to get your kids vaccinated. No one's going to give a crap. Our kids get COVID, then we're the reason why they got COVID. Because we were negligible, because we're blind.
And we weren't, we weren't obviously able to get them vaccinated, and we were obviously putting them in danger. And so it all goes back to being disabled. I mean, again, when CPS gets to be calling you because your child has a peanut butter stain on their shirt, that wasn't my case. I had said that was someone I knew. It's insanity when that's acceptable. Like, oh, wow. I mean, what were they supposed to do? I don't know. Help the kid clean up and keep it moving. Because if you're going to tell me that your kid has never left the house looking a mess because you didn't pay attention, I feel like, again, that's not true. At some point, your kid, they're going to do things that you don't know about. They're going to do things that they're going to end up getting hurt. They're going to end up going outside with clothes like mess. Either it's messy or they don't match or something, especially when they're younger. It's going to happen. There's no way you can be a perfect parent.
You know, it's something that happens as a blind parent with sighted kids, taking them to the doctor's office. It's always an awkward exchange.
Yeah.
Right? Like, here, can you fill out these papers? Like,
no.
Nope.
You fill them out. At this point, we've become pros at it.
Nope.
And it's kind of like you fill them out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's one.
This is also a reason why when we find a place that works for us,
we
will stick to it.
You know, we generally have different thoughts going on at the same time.
Yeah, but it generally ends up in the same spot.
Yeah, it does.
With your doctor saying you just jarred something, we will literally travel whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a good dentist. If we were to, let's say, move or something like that, we would still come out here because they have a good dentist. They know us. We have a rapport.
Yep.
And it's not worth risking
Trying to build a whole new relationship.
Right, and seeing what might happen.
Because we went to other dentists and it was terrible.
Right.
And they were like, okay, nope.
So, and it's not just like, okay, that was a bad doctor. It was a bad doctor. And you have the added pressure. We're also blind.
Mm-hmm.
So once you build rapport somewhere, especially when it comes to medical stuff, doctors, dentists, things like that, you tend to, at least us personally, we tend to stay with those particular settings.
Yep.
Rather than moving around.
Because who wants to work on building a relationship?
And we're not talking like, okay, it's
again.
Interviewing, it's vetting, it's a whole process.
Yep.
So when we find somewhere, we tend to just stick with that because it makes our lives easier as blind parents.
Mm-hmm.
These are, again, I wish I could be more upbeat and give you more, but there isn't anything different really from my parenting to someone else's who can see. Like the disability doesn't play a large enough role in our lives for me to be like, yeah, this is a stark difference.
It's just a little harder.
With certain things.
Yeah. Like we have to work harder at certain things, like the whole homeschooling thing. Like we have to find curriculum that's accessible.
Right.
So that we know what they're learning.
So for example, for us, that means relying heavily on online sources.
Mm-hmm.
And if the website and the app is accessible, then we move along with that.
Yep.
Purchasing digital curriculum so that it's in the and then formatting it so it's an appropriate file for us to be able to read. These are extra steps. This is why it can be done.
Keep in mind there is almost nothing Islamic that is blind accessible when it comes to any kind of curriculum.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Like almost nothing.
I mean, if you wanted to, we could discuss that's a whole different topic of how handling homeschooling as a blind parent. And I've had a lot of questions from other blind moms.
Okay.
Or trepidations, like I just don't know how I would teach them to read, or I just
get
don't know
ready
if
for
I
the
can do
homeschool
that.
episode.
I've been doing this for 9 years, and I've taught my 3 oldest to read. I'm working on my 4th, and I'm the one who picked up on my son being dyslexic.
Mm-hmm. How'd you do that? You're blind,
right? I picked up on that. And,
how'd you teach them how to read? You're blind.
Well, and a lot of blind parents actually have that trepidation. They're like, I don't know how I would do that, and so
how'd you teach them how to write? You're blind.
Yeah, and I've done that too. I've taught them how to write. I've taught them how to read.
How'd you teach them how to poop? You're blind.
But see, the writing and reading from a blind person's perspective, I can understand that, because if you're total, how are you managing that? I did manage it, and they do write and they do read, and well. And as a matter of fact, Suhaila reads above her grade level. Well, I told you I picked up on Noah's dyslexia. And
he's about at grade level.
He's about at grade level with therapies. And then Abdullah reads at grade level. So I've never had an issue with that. Handwriting, that's fine. And then we transition over to typing, because at some point they learn young, you got to email me your
nobody
like
writes, writes their essays in cursive.
As a matter
anymore.
of fact, Suhaila, Noah, Abdullah can kind of read cursive. He wasn't really interested.
Isn't that funny though? What? How people are like, "Oh, you got to teach them cursive."
That's become a debated issue.
That's dumb.
People are like, there's some people on your side where it's like, it's pointless, or people are like, no, it's absolutely this, that, and the third.
I'm in the opinion of learn how to sign your name, and that's it.
I'm in the opinion of, if my child is interested, because we do a lot of child-led interest, then we will do it.
Okay, great.
But if they're not, I'm not going to push it.
But that's not going to be a primary curriculum thing.
It's not. It's
an
extra.
extra thing.
Like Suhaila has learned it because she was interested. Abdullah kind of was interested and then decided, don't really care, but he knows that he can read it. He can make it out.
Then we got that Magnetab board with the cursive letters.
Yep. Yeah. We had some tools for it. And then Noah was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And he's like, I'm dyslexic. I'm managing one thing at a time.
Smart man.
So we're fine with wherever he's at.
Yep.
And again, it's neither. But I've done all of this stuff, and I've been doing it for 9 years. And my kids have never attended public or private school. They have been homeschooled from the beginning. It could be done, but that's a whole different. But
okay, so yeah, we could talk about homeschool and stuff later.
Yeah. But again, I'm really big on. And again, has nothing to do with me being blind, really, I don't think. And maybe just a little, I guess.
What?
But I'm really big on the kids being independent.
Yeah.
Learn how to cook, learn how to take care of yourself, learn life skills, learn eventually financial skills, all with an appropriate age. Obviously.
Our 8-year-old, our 10-year-old, and our 13-year-old all know how to use the stovetop.
Right.
They all can make themselves a grilled cheese sandwich.
and mac and cheese and
They all
eggs
can make mac and cheese and eggs and hot
things
dogs
like that.
and stuff like that.
Abdullah does a little bit more because he's 13, so he
Abdullah
knows.
can bake. He baked me a carrot cake.
Right.
For God's sake.
That's what he wants to go to school for.
God, so good.
He is an excellent baker.
Leave a comment if you want Abdullah to make you a carrot cake.
He also does pretzels and cookies and brownies and like all from scratch. None of this is box stuff.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's very good, mashallah.
It's good. Like I told him, I said, look, Abdullah, I love you, but if it sucks, I'm gonna tell you this sucks.
Oh no, mashallah, this kid,
really
he has a talent
good.
for it, and that's what he wants to go to school for. But
Mashallah, yeah, man, Allah reward him.
he also
and
he
keep
grill,
him
he could
steadfast.
grill it. I don't
mean.
like steak, but he could grill a good steak.
Yep.
So
Yep.
My goal is it's not because, okay, I need you to be independent so you can take care of me. My goal is you need to be independent so you can take care, as you get older, I want you to be able to take care of yourself. But I think any parent would want that, right? Like, wouldn't you want your kids to develop those skills so that they're not relying on somebody else?
I don't know. There's a lot of people that we know.
Because I think of, what is it?
There's a lot of people that we know that don't know how to,
that they
cut their own apple.
Yeah.
Or make themselves a sandwich.
But
like it's literally put the bread down, put the meat on the bread, put the cheese on the meat,
right.
Put the bread on the top. It's not hard.
The thing is, right, blind or not, right? Like
yeah, like seriously.
But I always think of like is it a hadith, I think, where that something like that talks like you shouldn't depend on others. You know what I mean? Depend only on Allah. And
depend only on Allah, yeah. Even if you drop your whip for your animal, you get down and you get it yourself. Don't even ask someone to get it for you. I mean, that I could see the extreme of that, right?
I'm not saying
but I get the point.
Right.
Like,
I'm not saying to go to
make
extremes, but make that point of I want you to be okay. At one point, neither you or I will be on this earth. And I need to know that you will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? At one point, you will leave my home to build your own home. And I need to know that you can manage these things. So independence is a big thing. And it's not because I'm blind. It's because I need to know my kids are going to be okay out in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been told that too. Like, oh yeah, you got to teach them how to cook and stuff because that way they can take care of you. Again, it goes back to I'm the parent. Nadir is the parent.
I want them to learn how to cook so that they could be a part of this household.
Right.
A productive part of this household. You're not just going to be sitting around, ordering your parents around. That don't fly.
Right.
No,
so
no.
Learn how to cook. You learn these skills. You take them with you. But while you're here, everyone, especially as you get older, and if you're living here, when you're an adult, everybody has to kind of carry their weight.
Yep.
Everybody helps out. Everyone has chores. Everyone helps clean up. And it has nothing to do with me being blind. It's just, and so many things have been studies and stuff that prove that giving your kids chores and giving them responsibilities, age appropriate responsibilities, and teaching them skills to be independent is extremely healthy. Like this is going to produce the better outcomes with your kids.
It's necessary. This is how you avoid getting, spoiled little brats.
Or you can put it that way.
Yeah, that's how you avoid it.
So again,
but
nothing to do with me being blind. I really can't specify like what did you do different. I've been asked that. What did you do with this and that? I mean, you learned. When my son was 7 months old, I was changing his diaper and he was a crawler. Like he would run away from you. And I was sitting on the floor. I didn't at this point use the changing table because he moved too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, you
didn't want him to fall off, yeah.
And so we're not doing that. And eventually, you don't really use changing tables like that anyway.
Yo, wallahi, that's the biggest hustle.
It's just biggest hustle.
It's
waste
the
of
biggest
money.
hustle. Oh, it's a changing table.
Yeah, it's dumb. Okay, you just kind of change them where you're at. So I'm sitting on the floor, and this will be one of my... And I would go to change his diaper, and he had pooped.
Gonna be one of your what?
My crazy stories.
Oh boy, here we go.
He pooped.
Now time for a Yadira crazy
like,
story
okay,
from Yadira. Yadira, take it away.
I hope my kid isn't angry at me when he's older and listens to this. Like, Mom, that's embarrassing. But you did it, kid.
Yes.
So I go to change his diaper, and Abdullah's sitting on the bed. He's older, and Noah was like 7 months old, maybe 6 months, but he was tiny. Okay, he was a baby. So I changed his diaper, and I got him cleaned up. Okay, but I didn't move fast enough to get rid of the nasty diaper because I swear to God, he was like the Flash, and he turned around in an instant, and I was fully expecting him to crawl away naked, and I was like, okay, I'll just go grab him when I'm done. You know what I mean? But he didn't. He turned around and this is gonna be gross.
Go ahead, wife. Share it.
Put his hand in the diaper.
And
I'm like, oh my God, So I'm freaking out, and freaking Della's in the background. He's like, "Oh my God, mama!" And so he's like 3 at that point, by the way. So the baby's doing this, and I'm like, "Oh my God, no!" So I got first. Actually, he went to put his hand in the diaper. Actually, the first hand, and I caught him. I'm like, "No!" But I lifted one hand and didn't hold the other. So he starts laughing and puts the other hand flat into, I was like, no! So then I'm like freaking out. I let go of his hand and I go to grab the dirty hand and he moves it and looks right at me and I had long hair at the time and just grabs a fistful of my hair in his poop hand.
Dita poopy hair.
And I was like, like I was like, why are things just happening? Like it was like one sequence after the other, like a bad movie. Like I was like, oh my God, it just things are happening. And I was like, Della, help me. And he's like, no, mama, you got emergency. You got emergency. And I was like, and I'm like, well, go help me with my emergency. He's like, oh no, mama, that's emergency. And I'm like, oh my God. So then he tries to crawl away from me. And at this point, I have a kid who has his hands full of poop and a dirty diaper on the floor.
Imprinting it all over the carpet.
Right. And I'm like, oh my God, there's poop prints on my, it was just awful.
Yep.
And so I grabbed the diaper,
I
threw
remember
it in
coming home from work that day.
I was highly upset. I had to grab the diaper, throw it in the bag and throw it out very quickly, grab him, bathe him, and then go all around and just clean up the whole floor. Because the thing is, I wasn't going to look for stains. I'm like,
okay, what did you do first? Did you throw away the poopy diaper?
I had to.
Did you pick up him?
No,
or
I
did you
scooped
wash
him up.
your hair?
Unfortunately, my hair was last.
Oh, God.
I couldn't. I scooped him up like a
just
football.
walked
I threw
around.
out the diaper, and then I bathed him. And put him in his crib, and then I cleaned up the floor, and I literally just
Probably were crying.
Just a little bit, a little bit, and but I had to clean the whole floor because I couldn't risk just leaving a stain or something like that.
Oh man!
Meanwhile, my kid's like, "No, you got emergency. You got emergency.
You got emergency,
like,
mama."
Like, help me! But he wouldn't. Again, I think things like that.
But that right there is a normal story,
right?
Right? That's a normal story. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, you're blind,
right?
So you got to give yourself some." No, man, this is normal stuff.
So then I had to put the baby in the crib and then tell my 3-year-old, you need to sit here and don't open the door. Mama needs to take a shower.
Because apparently you had emergency.
I had emergency. But again, nothing. And then now that they're teenagers, the sneaky thing is different. Like they're trying to sneak up, staying late, sneaking on more internet, being on their screens when we've already told them no. Nothing.
Trying to be in the kitchen super quiet.
Oh God, they're awful at that. Noah's 10, Della's 13, so they're like tween and teen, and I'd rather pay their freaking rent because these kids are always eating.
Yep.
And so
it's like
boys,
who's in the kitchen?
Right, and they're like
me.
I'm like get
Abdullah
out.
White, what are you doing in the kitchen? Heating up some taquitos
or a
like,
snack.
Bro, you got 10 minutes before you go to bed. No, you can't have taquitos right now. Get out of here.
Or my favorite is 10 minutes before bed. Can I have some chicken wings? What? No. Get out of here. Go to bed.
What if I just have one?
Right. Just one chicken wing?
Can I have
go
one?
Away. No, go.
They're not that deep yet, but that's the kid's voice. Look, wife, we're running out of time here.
So
we're running out of time. Hurry up.
All right.
You gotta talk fast. Go.
No.
Puerto Rican it.
So
hit the Puerto Rican
But you're not
button.
letting me finish, okay? But that's that's our experience. I don't think that my experience is that vastly different, except that we need to Uber everywhere. We do stay with, oh, look at that. One of our cats joined us. So I mean, Nadir, seriously though, do you think it's that vastly different being a blind parent? He's still looking for the cat.
Wait a minute, hold on, I'm coming.
he's still looking for the cat.
No, I tried to pretend like I stormed off again, but
okay.
I can't keep doing that. That's gonna be it's gonna wear out soon.
Yeah, it is.
I could storm off maybe another 3 times.
Okay. Anyway.
I mean, listen, bro. Like I said, there are some challenges, but you just have to learn the life hacks to get it going. That's it. It's not a big deal.
So and
then like I said, we teach our kids. Like, how else did Abdullah and Nuh and Suhaila learn how to work that oven? Work that stovetop.
Right.
Abdullah learned from his mama. from his mama. I'm gonna be real. Like, I didn't know, right? I just started learning how to make eggs. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's from me.
Exactly.
Again, they've all learned how to manage, they observe the same way that any other kid, right? People go and they bake with their kids and cook with their kids. I did the same thing. I did the same exact thing. Nothing different. So they learned by observing.
Yep.
Just like any other parent. Honestly, we Uber, we Lyft, we do those things. Yes.
Is it a challenge because sometimes it's harder to get a ride?
Yes.
100%.
When they were younger and we had 1 million car seats, that was a huge challenge.
Oh my God. Alhamdulillah, we're not there anymore.
Because you have to tote with your car seats everywhere you go. Now, apparently, inflatable booster seats are a thing.
Oh my God.
So that wasn't a thing before.
Let me tell you, one of the most hassling things is being in the mall, because the mall, they don't have carts.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the mall with a booster seat with a back, and an all-out car seat, the big heavy-duty car seats. Oh my God.
And we've done that.
Yeah.
So traveling, where if you're going to be in a car, you're going to have to take your car seats. That's a challenge. That's something that's different. But you do it. Do we have things labeled? Yes. The washing machine and dryer talk, but these again are just blind.
These are just ways to get things done.
Right.
That's it.
Color catcher sheets, I learned from another blind parent years and years ago before even I was a parent. Color catcher sheets and washing your laundry in the cold. But actually, I learned about the cold thing from my grandmother because that's how she always did it. Because the colors, you run a less chance of them bleeding. And when you have children's clothes where there's so many colors, color catcher sheets are amazing because you really reduce it.
If you don't know what they are, they're made by Shout.
Yeah, and they catch any color that might bleed off of your clothes.
So just Google that. Shout color catcher sheets.
Some people may not be as big as on matching. I am. So in general, if my kids will have like plain bottoms, usually not printed. And then the top and I usually pick neutral colors that will match with everything so that they learn how to dress themselves early on too. And they can match and feel that sense of accomplishment.
Independence is the name of the game here. That's really all it is. Do we have some things to make our lives a little easier in regards to tools and things like that? 100%.
Absolutely.
But just like any other parent would have in regards to their specific situation.
Right.
And yeah, Dita?
That's kind of it. Honestly, more of the issue that we face is honestly the misconceptions and presumptions that society has.
Listen, society is hands down that is the biggest obstacle and challenge for within our lives, and I guarantee with most disabled people's lives.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about that in another episode.
That's a whole different episode.
Because I'm the producer of this show, and I'm saying it's game over.
Okay, you do that, sir.
All right?
You are. You have power, right?
You're cut off.
Okay.
All right?
You feel important?
A little bit.
Okay. Good for you.
All right. But yeah, no, Dita, right? Good, covered?
I think so.
Right.
I hope it was informative. I'm
sorry,
and
we're
enjoyable.
so tired.
I'm exhausted.
We're
He's
both
exhausted.
Very tired. But yeah. Anyway, guys, make sure you guys do all the stuff I always tell you to do, right? Make sure you subscribe to this. Make sure you like this. Make sure you go follow us on different things like Facebook.
Okay. If you cut
Insta,
me off, I get to cut you off.
Graham, along with the Twitter and Tick. I want to see. Yo, stop talking. I want to see.
You're so annoying.
Yeah, I know. That was really dumb. Dita, how can they follow you?
At Always Yadira.
Yep, they could follow Yadira at Always Yadira, because that's her name. And yeah, guys, I mean, look, this is pretty much it, right? I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm kind of out of it. I'm super beat. But make sure you join us next time. Dita?
Finish it. Just finish it. God.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. He won't end it.
You know, it's funny. I can feel how annoyed you are right now.
I love you deeply, but oh, my God. Just end it.
I can't end it. It's so hard.
I don't like you. Okay, join us next time where we take you behind the blind. End it. Assalamu alaikum.
Yo, my stomach hurts, yo.
I'm so over you. Go take a nap. For the love of God.
Oh, God. I'm crying. Oh, goodness. I can't do it. All right. And join us next.
Are you going to cut all this out?
I don't know. All right, guys. Yeah, join us next time when we take you behind the blind. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.